welcome to this session here today, this Thursday, live from Circle. So this session is called the Open Collaboration for Circular Transformation. And today we're really going to talk about using action-based learning to strengthen transformational leadership skills. So welcome, really nice that you're all here joining us for this session. Let us begin with a small introduction.
Yes.
Yes, so maybe you can start off.
So I'm Nele van den Bongert. I'm the coordinator of the Amsterdam Sustainability Institute at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. And I'm here today with Wali Bernuzzi. She's also from the Vrije Universiteit, and she's a master's student of leadership and change management. She will tell us more about this transformational leadership and how you can use this in action-based learning. So we'll learn much more about that in just a very few minutes.
Yes, well, thanks, Nele. Very excited that we can host this session together. So my name is Emily, and I work at Soapbox. And Soapbox is an organization that connects youth and organizations together to make positive impact. We do all kinds of projects, and also the SDG Challenge, a practical tool to actually put all the knowledge that you gain today into action. But I will tell you about that a lot more later. And also we have Durga here, who is a current student at the Groningen Universiteit, doing a master's in accountancy and controlling, and a former participant of the SDG Challenge, now doing her internship on CSR at Ernst & Young. The four of us will take you into a journey and tell you about how you actually should dare to lay bare all your challenges in order to really become circular. But before we get to that, and before we tell you more about what is it that we have for you on the program today, let's get to know each other a little bit better, because I think we're also quite curious to know who is it that we have here with us today. So actually, I would like to invite you in the chat maybe to write down what is it that brings you here, and also what is your position. So are you a student that is watching today? Are you from a governmental organization? Are you from a commercial organization? What sector are you working in? Maybe to get a little bit of an idea who we have in front of us. So I'm gonna check if anything is coming in. And I don't see any answers coming in yet. So please let us know what is your position, and which sector are you working in, or what are your studies? Maybe also, are you from the Netherlands? Are you watching from abroad? Really just to get an idea, okay, who do we have in front of us? So still waiting. Yes, so we're very patient. We will just wait until any answers are getting in. Maybe in the meantime, Nele, maybe you can tell a little bit more about your background. How did you came to work at the VU Sustainability Institute?
Absolutely, yes. So there we have some notes in the chat. So we see Olga posted that she's a student of environmental management at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. And Gijs Peters from Dataflex International. So we already see we have a mix of students and young professionals, but also professionals from the business sector. So I think this session today is then also interesting for you, because we have both perspectives actually. And this is about how we can work together.
Yes, and I see another answer coming in from Karel, who is doing his master's, and he's currently watching from the Amsterdam Science Park. Yes, someone from Groningen. Ah, nice. I can see a future participant of the SDG Challenge. Well, that's also really nice. So we have a former participant of the SDG Challenge, but I'm really happy that we already have a future participant of the SDG Challenge watching.
So maybe you'll be here next year then.
Yeah, maybe you'll be standing here next year. And then I can see that Karel is here to broaden his views and support Vali, who will tell us a little bit more in a few minutes. Want to learn more about circular economy.
And we also have the Amsterdam Science Park here, so we see all these different entities in academia or higher education interested in what we're doing. So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited to...
Really nice to have all these different perspectives over here. So indeed, on the one hand, people from the business side that are watching, and I think this session is really important for you because it's all about, okay, how can you actually open up and how can you make that change happen? But also for students, of course, the younger generation, you are the future. And we hope that, the next generations, will really implement all the sustainability learnings that they already came in touch with during their studies. So really nice that you're all here. Another question, since today, this day at the Circular Week of the Economy, it's all about personal views. It's really about personal intention. So we have a question for you, and that is, who has inspired you into sustainability? So for me, to give an example, I think it's really, I already was into sustainability, but last year when the Netflix documentary of David Attenborough actually appeared online, I was really, really fascinated, and it really triggered me also, personally. So not only in my career, but also for my friends, my family, to say, okay, this has to end here, and we really have to all become aware of where we are standing at the moment. So I feel in light of that documentary, my work has even become more important.
Wow, really nice. I'll start a bit closer to me growing up. I think, my mom, she was a biologist, so always keen on working with plants, and this fascination, I think, really inspired me as well. This, love of nature in the end, so I really wanted to contribute to that as well, and appreciate the environment and help for it to remain as fascinating as it is for the future generations.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm happy to also hear, and also I'm curious to get to know who or what has really inspired you into sustainability, circular economy, and of course it's a really broad concept. But as you can see, and I can actually already see, Lisa has answered. Already inspired. About 12 years ago, I started eating plant-based. And from there, I started my own natural deodorants. Oh, wow. Okay, well, I think that is really cool. And that shows also that actually, you can put your vision into action. So thank you, Lisa, for sharing. So maybe some other people, what has inspired you into the topic of sustainability, or who has inspired you into this topic?
But also I'm interested, what are you doing? So I think doing your own deodorants, that's quite something already. So really taking action as well in your private life, maybe also in your professional life. Maybe you're looking for doing that in the future. So to wake up the transformational leader in yourself, which is what we're going to do today.
So we're just waiting to see if another answer is coming in. So don't be hesitant to share, or maybe a podcast that has inspired you, or a book that has inspired you, just to get to know each other a little bit better. So we'll wait for a couple more seconds, and if not, then we'll just continue with what we're going to do today. I can see Lisa has actually also mentioned the book that she was inspired by. So that is really nice.
And Olga puts indigenous communities and their knowledge, like the book, again a book, so that's good for everyone to follow up on, the braiding sweetgrass.
Cool, nice. Yeah, please share with you all your inspirations in the chats. And I think this also really brings us to what we're going to do today, because it's all about opening up and also really learning from each other. So yeah, please, if anything pops in mind, a book, a podcast, a person, maybe an interview, it really can be anything, but please share it with us and also with everyone in the audience so that we can learn from each other and that we also can inspire each other. So during the session, feel free to write down anything that inspires you in the chat. So now let's continue, well, to actually the program of today. So Nele, yeah, what is it that we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, so today we'll have our program. So we'll start with the first keynote held by Vali, who is currently writing her master thesis on transformational leadership skills and how we can best train the leaders of tomorrow in their really value-driven leadership. So she just will present us the latest results of her research. So we are very excited to hear about that. You will have the chance to ask questions as well, again in the chat, which we will discuss later, or like following the presentation. And after that, we'll move to Emily, who will tell us more about the SDG challenge, and also we will hear from Durga, who participated in it herself, and thus will take us on her very personal journey of becoming a transformational leader. So this is what we're going to do today. And with that, I'll move into the first keynote. So Vali did research into a methodology called SDG Scan, which has been developed by the Amsterdam Sustainability Institute and the Sustainability Leadership Hub, mainly by Associate Professor Edina Dotzi, who is teaching a course on transformational leadership at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. So within this course, students work together with companies and give them a scan, an overview of their contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals that have been developed by the United Nations. And we will learn more about it now in the video that will introduce Vali's keynote. So yes, we'll see you right there. All right, so there we are. And so Vali, we are here today to hear more about your research that you've been doing recently. And I will just give you the floor to tell us some more about. We missed the video.
Watch the video?
Yeah, no,
okay.
We didn't watch the video. So we'll hear more about your research in a second. So yeah, as I said, it's about the SDG scan. And we will just see in the video how it works. So the setup is, that as I said, in the course, the students develop the methodology. They apply it to companies that they work with. So they really work with, in real life cases. And we'll see in the video now how this is happening and why it's so important.
It's easy to lose hope. And it's easy to lose perspective. And it's easy to feel despair and anxiety that many people and many young people are feeling. And I think that the best way to tackle this anxiety is to take action.
Only by coming together, those really difficult, complex, wicked problems can actually be overcome. So we have brilliant educators, we have sustainability research, we have leadership expertise, we have brilliant students, but we not always put them together. The Sustainability Leadership Hub is a competence center around education, outreach, impact, and leadership on the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Circular economy to cities, to biodiversity, climate change. And number 17 talks about how we should achieve that. And the answer is through partnerships.
So our goal is that by 2026, sustainability will be integrated in all study programs. And the SDG scan is one of these methods, which is an action learning methodology to do exactly that.
So the SDG scan is students going to companies and helping them to understand how they relate to the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations.
gives you the perfect opportunity to bring in practice what you've learned in class. Yeah, just to have fun with your colleagues. It's not just learning from a paper, but it's also bringing it to practice.
I think students more easily show their mature self if you give them responsibility and if you give them the trust. Do it yourself.
This scan brings you really together with all kinds of people from the organization. And I think that's the most important part, just communicate and working together for a better future, not just by yourself.
We are training students with a new mindset, and right away they can bring this mindset and create this domino effect in organizations.
So having our students going out and working with real people and real organizations is a tremendous benefit for everyone. And ultimately we believe by bringing together people, we make impact.
We are all agents in shaping our collective future. So take action and realize that you do have power and you can push for positive change.
Okay. Hi everyone, thanks for having me here to talk about sustainability leadership and transformational leadership and my thesis. I feel really privileged to be here. So, let's see. Here we go. Yes, okay. So just a bit of personal background about myself. My name is Vali, as Nele mentioned. I'm a research assistant at the Sustainability Leadership Hub, and I'm also a Leadership and Change Management Master's student at the VU. I am Italian originally, but I grew up for a lot of my life abroad, specifically in Brussels, where I followed a British education. And finishing high school, I decided to continue my studies and do my undergraduate education in University of Birmingham in the UK, where I studied modern languages and business management. Having finished my bachelor degree, I moved to Milan to do an internship at a management consulting startup called Skip Consulting. And it was during this time that my interest for change management really came alive. So in Italy, there are still a lot of family-owned businesses. And during my time there, I went to a workshop that specifically talked about the challenges that these businesses have from changing from one generation to the next in terms of management structures. So they were highlighting this real need for change management, and this is where I was first introduced to the topic, and that's also where I started to become more interested. So I started looking for master programs, and I came across the Leadership and Change Management Master at the VU. I applied, and they accepted, and now I'm here. So everything worked out well in the end. So within the Leadership and Change Management Master, I had the opportunity to participate in the Leadership Advanced Perspectives course, which was taught by Associate Professor Edina Dossi. And as the name suggests, the course taught you about advanced perspectives of leadership, but more specifically, it presented many alternative leadership styles to the ones that are mostly familiar to us. For example, authentic leadership styles, value-driven leadership, transformational leadership, and one of particular importance was sustainability leadership. So sustainability leadership encapsulates many different leadership styles, including the ones that I just mentioned, but specifically it's a form of transformational leadership that in corporate settings fulfills not only its economic obligations, but it also respects the impact that it has on society and the environment. So in terms of leader characteristics, sustainability leaders are very aware of their values and they act in accordance to their values. They identify their purposes and their meanings in life, and they based decisions of these meanings and purposes. So before I had studied this course, I was always interested in leadership, and I liked the idea of leading and taking the lead in things. And also alongside this, I was also very interested in sustainability. Nevertheless, I never felt a real strong sense of agency to motivate others and share my passion with other people. So my understanding of sustainability was very much limited to the environmental dimension, so climate change, helping to reduce my carbon footprint, knowing about the ice caps melting, etc. And I did all the things that I acted in ways that I could improve these things. So I went vegan, I started not buying any leather produce, ethical clothes, and I was really trying my best to contribute to this, but I never really felt like I could motivate other people. I thought, oh, if people are not doing this already, then they probably don't care. So my views I kept quite to myself, and they were quite personal. As a side note, I never imagined that leadership and sustainability could mean something as a collective definition. I always saw them as two very separate things, and this is what the course helped me realize, that they could actually be combined. And there were four main realizations that I had from following the course. The first being, sustainability is very big, and it's very broad, and it's complicated, and it's important that we know how complicated it is. And this was primarily by learning through the SDGs and understanding that sustainability also involves humans, and it involves our relationships between each other, how we respect each other and how we respect our environment. And based on this, the second thing that I realized was I do care about sustainability, and it's a good thing that I care about sustainability, because I should care about sustainability. People should know what's happening in the world. People should be aware of what we do and what impact this has on not only our functioning, but the functioning of people that we are not related to. The third thing was that if I care about this, then I can actually make a change by being a sustainability leader. And based on the characteristics that I was just mentioning about sustainability leadership, it's about leaders driving change via the values that they have in their life and the meaning that they find and why they wake up every day. And in this sense, we can all be a sustainability leader if we take the action to change something that we really care about. Aside from this theoretical and self-realization aspect of the course, what was really nice about it was that I could put all this theory into practice via the SDG scan. And from what we just saw, the SDG scan is it's a sustainability consulting methodology, and it brings students and organizations together where students help identify the values of the organization, and the organization can then match these values to the SDGs. And this is incredibly important for two reasons. The first reason being that by knowing exactly what SDGs the organization can contribute to, it gives them a plan, and there is no room for hesitation for the organization. The second part is it makes sustainability much more manageable. We often see sustainability as this big, intangible, and very difficult challenge to solve. But if we find something that we really care about, then change becomes more realistic, and we're also more motivated to do it. So I felt such a passion about this that I started working for SLH in March of 2021. And this is where the passion for the subject that I had really turned into fulfillment, because I thought that I was really making a difference. I was actually helping people learn about sustainability. I was changing education. I was not only raising awareness about sustainability, but I was helping to equip people on how to deal with the challenges of sustainability, which is something that we should all consider in the next 10 to 15 years of working life. So this fulfillment then, following this fulfillment, I thought, why not take this further and start and commit to doing my master thesis on this topic. So the Leadership Advanced Perspectives course kind of became a case study for my master thesis. And my master thesis is titled The Leader Within Ourselves, Testing an Alternative Pedagogy for Sustainability Leadership Education, which in sum, I am looking at how we can best teach sustainability leadership in higher education. This thesis is a mixed method study with a qualitative dominance. So essentially this means that I used survey results in support of primary qualitative data, which is in the form of self-reflection assignments. And in terms of research design, we asked the students to fill in a survey where they reflected on their sustainability leadership competencies before and after having participated in the course. And likewise for writing a self-reflection before and after the course about what sustainability leadership means to them. The study had 3 main objectives. The first is how students' understanding of sustainability leadership changed as a result of taking the course. The second is how students' self-perceptions as sustainability leaders changed as a result of taking the course. And finally, what pedagogical or teaching methods are most impactful for learning sustainability leadership theories and principles. So, what happened? Well, in the pre-course reflections, when defining sustainability leadership, students often turn to words such as impact, awareness, consciousness, responsibility, importance, thinking in terms of the future, thinking in the long term, and finally, collaborating and working together. So, for example, as you can see on the screen, students thought sustainability leadership was about impacting the world for the better. Sustainability leaders are tuned into the problems of the world and they have a moral agency to improve the world. Sustainability leaders recognize their responsibility and they recognize the responsibility of others to make changes. So students clearly understood that sustainability leadership had something to do with leading with a moral agenda. So leaders are responsible and they act in ways that don't harm the society or the environment. And in terms of prior sustainability knowledge and interest, the group was quite varied. So a lot of the students already had quite a solid knowledge base about sustainability and quite a high interest. But then there were also others who had no knowledge at all. So in general, the level of understanding was sustainability was either an environmental issue or they described sustainability in terms of the triple bottom line. So the people, planet, profit triad of Elkington. So then what happened during the course? Well, their opinions changed, so that's a good thing. So when defining sustainability leadership, in the post-course reflection, students often referred to words such as values and meaning, personal meaning, purpose, change, leading together, and leading with each other. So the feeling that emerged after the course was that sustainability leadership was no longer simply addressing the triple bottom line, so addressing the economic, environmental, and social aspects of decisions. It really became about aligning oneself to the sustainability paradigm. So that means, what do we stand for in society? What do we value? What makes us wake up in the morning? What gives us meaning? Why do we do the things that we do? And sustainability leadership aligns all of these intrinsic motivators to the SDG philosophy. And by doing this, acting sustainably or in line with sustainability becomes non-negotiable, and it becomes a part of who we are. And most importantly, it dictates how we behave as leaders. So the general sentiment changed from what sustainability leaders do to what we can do as sustainability leaders. But there is one final and very important thing to notice, is that because sustainability is such a broad challenge and it's such a complicated challenge with so many layers, we cannot do this alone. We cannot change the world alone. And with sustainability leadership, there's a high emphasis on collaboration and working together. And if we all work together towards sustainability and to help solve sustainability challenges, then we can really change the world and make it a greener, more resilient and healthier place. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you, Vali, then, for your very nice insights and also for sharing your very personal story. I think, yeah, it's really a journey that you went through. But I think what's also nice to see is that you don't have to be a sustainable-minded person from early childhood. It's something you can definitely pick up once you're when you're older. You don't have to be a true transformation leader since forever, but it's something that you can decide for and take action upon. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I want to ask the audience to ask your questions or comments, share your comments in the chat so we can discuss them and have a bit of a conversation now. So please feel free to ask your questions in the chat. So I see here, some.
Oh, thanks, Lisa.
Congratulations.
That's really nice.
So I thought this point of, okay, you can be as an adult also make a change towards becoming a leader. That's, such an important point. So I was also curious. It's a bit about the companies, because we're talking about collaboration today. You also participated in the SDG scan yourself. So before you did your research, you did it yourself as well. And you worked with the companies. And so while the students went through this very personal journey and discovered the values and tried to align their actions to it, did you see some sort of change also with the people you were working with on the business side? Or did you get feedback from their side as well? Or how they perceived this advice that they were getting from the students?
Yeah. Well, when I did the scan, it was a bit different. There was a different methodology, but I definitely don't think they're not used to really reflecting so much about themselves, asking to really sit down and think about one's values is actually quite hard. I mean, even if you want to take a few minutes today, just think oh, what do I really stand for in society? Why do I get up in the morning? It's not as easy as you think. And then I think people were actually surprised by how easy it is to then connect the two. So sustainability doesn't have to be such a far away concept. It can be actually quite close to home by doing this tactic. Also, the company that I worked with was just really excited to have students work on this, because students are enthusiastic, we have new ideas, and they were just happy to engage in something like this.
Yeah, cool. Then we have an advice, for trying to make your own workplace more sustainable. preferably about like talking about the core business, so not so much about some other measures you can take a part of it, and the overall sustainability strategy. Yeah, because it is indeed very broad. So where do you start? How do you transform this ambition into some manageable actions?
Well, there needs to be a purpose for why you're doing something. So if a company is really committed to be sustainable, then it needs to operate from an internal place. So a company needs to act from a sustainability ethos as opposed to implementing sustainable strategies. The sustainability needs to be at the nucleus of the company, so then all decisions can come from a sustainable place. And the way to do that is really to dig into yourself and to figure out what you care for, what impact you want to make, and from there you can look at the strategic aspects of it.
Yes. So this is what I wanted to ask you as well. So you talked about identifying your own values. How do you start on this journey as a person? Maybe something we can have our audience think about today once they leave the session.
Yeah.
What is, good questions to ask yourself, or maybe recommendations for books or other resources. What do you think is...
Well, I think in terms of identifying one's values, it helps to think about what makes you feel good and what makes you feel bad. And to think about the situations that surround those things that make you feel good and make you feel bad. In terms of books, I haven't read any books personally or listened to any podcasts about values specifically, but I think it's a very important aspect of life to self-reflect and to ground yourself and to realize why you live the life that you live. And based on that, decision making is just easier because you know exactly who you are and you know where you want to go. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I think it's really something that we all can take with us from this session. If there's no more questions, I would wrap this part off, and we'll change to the SDG challenge, which is also another interesting way of learning more about transformation leadership. So thank you, Vali, for your very nice presentation and all the insights you gave us. And I think we can really take a lot from this and work on our own transformational leadership skills. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
The SDG Challenge helps companies to reach their sustainability goals by putting them in contact with fresh minds, students from all over the country.
The SDGs are all about partnerships. The only way we're going to achieve these ambitious goals is by working together. And the great thing about the SDG Challenge is that it brings together businesses and teams from different universities to think about these challenges and to come up with very innovative and creative solutions.
My motivation for working the SDG Challenge is because as a student it's a nice opportunity to connect to an actual challenge, and because we are all on the team from different backgrounds, we can learn a lot from each other and from the business partner and come up with a very innovative solution.
The energy that I see is my favorite part of this challenge. You can really see that it inspires students, but it also energizes companies when they see and work together with these students on different types of challenges.
Challenge today, improve tomorrow.
Yes, well, as you can see, a really practical tool actually that really complements also Valley's story. So thank you also, Valley, for explaining well, the SDG scan and also really to give us a theoretical understanding of how transformative leadership works. And I think actually the question that was posted in the chat is really good because it really, well, also what Valley mentioned as a response, it's really about why, identifying your values. So then you have identified your values, so you know what to do. So either you're a student or you're working at an organization, but then, yeah, how are you now getting to action? So actually one tool is the SDG challenge. So the SDG challenge is a concept by Soapbox. Soapbox is an organization that puts, organizations that have a sustainability challenge in contact with different students from universities, also universities of applied sciences. And actually these students, they are really getting to work for your challenge. So you now know your values and you're open for collaboration because that's what you want to do. You want to lay bare your challenge in order to really make an impact and to, well, really have, this new and maybe an open-minded view on whatever you want to achieve. So the SDG challenge. So what is actually the SDG challenge? So the SDG challenge is actually the largest national competition regarding the Sustainable Development Goals, and as just mentioned, both with universities and universities of applied sciences. So as an organization, you actually come to us and you reach out. You say, well, you know, this is what I find really important, but we're stuck in maybe a little bit of a traditional view, or yeah, we really need also a network, students, but maybe also another perspective, so a multidisciplinary perspective to whatever challenge in the field of the Sustainable Development Goals you are facing. So a student team will then actually go to work for you, and during a really intensive course of 3 months, they will make sure that you will actually get a concrete and feasible solution to whatever challenge you are, that you're facing. So by the end of the 3 months, as you just saw in the video, the solutions will be pitched by the student teams. So it's really a competition. So you have different organizations that all face different sustainability challenges. Can be about inclusion, can be about CO2 reduction. Well, really, it can be about anything. It can be one SDG. It can be multiple SDGs linked together. They're pitching it in front of a professional jury, and then a winner will actually come out of this competition. So the students, they work on a real life pressing sustainability case, and they're not only doing this in collaboration with the organization, but also with a whole network. So you can see some of the logos underneath the slides. For example, Impact Hub has created this pressure cooker method where you can really come to like a concrete and practical solution. But also the Association of Universities of Applied Sciences, universities, SDG the Netherlands, Sustainalize. You can see a lot of different parties really joining forces in order to make sure that you're having this open mind, and that you're really, from this intrinsic motivations, are looking like, okay, how can we really use fresh minds and fresh ideas to actually reach our targets? So why? Well, I think this is most important, and it really complements what Vali just mentioned. We really need to work together. So it's not leading over others, it's really leading together with each other. And so on the one hand, of course, it's really valuable for organizations because you want to reach your sustainability targets. But on the other hand, of course, also for the students. So as just mentioned, the students, they're really the future. So you want to trigger them also into a sustainability career. And then last but not least, by hosting a national competition, we try to create a transcendent awareness for the goals, even making this network of collaborations larger. So very quickly, a scan through the SDG challenge. So from the SDG scan to the SDG challenge. So just to give you a very short example of all the kind of different organizations that are actually reaching out to us. Well, you have all the educational partners, but also governmental institutions that are very interested in. So, for example, the police, they also come to us and they say, hey, we have this challenge. This is what we know that we want to actually achieve, but they don't know how to implement it. And then on the right side, a lot of different companies that are also reaching out, wanting the help of students. And all, with this goal of creating this transcendent awareness, but also coming to really actionable plans. So I very quickly ran you through what the SDG challenge is, and of course, I will also put my contact details in the chat, and also by the end of the presentation, you can reach out to me. But I think it's way more interesting, to actually give the word to a former participant and also a winner of the SDG challenge 2021, and I have a short video to introduce her, and she will tell you more about the impact, the solution that her team has come up with, gained for the partner she teamed up with, but also for herself.
Eska is een producent van massief karton, volledig geproduceerd uit gerecycled papier. Wij leveren wereldwijd aan afnemers die daar boeken, spellen, puzzels en luxe verpakkingen van produceren. En we zijn continu op zoek naar verduurzaming, vooral van die ketens. En juist in die ketens het verandering brengen, daarvoor hebben we de studenten van de SDG uitgenodigd om met ons samen te denken hoe we dat het beste kunnen doen.
So the SDG Challenge is an exciting, fun platform where students from different universities get a chance to interact with companies and work towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So collaborating with Eska has been really exciting. We had a lot of people from every department who tried to help us and give us feedback on our ideas. They were all willing to participate, they were all willing to share their experiences, but the most important of them all was they were willing to learn from us and share our ideas. So it was really nice to be here, and we felt really welcome here. Hello everyone, goedemiddag. My name is Durga, and I'm doing my master's in accountancy and controlling at the University of Groningen. And currently I'm also doing my master thesis with Ernst & Young. I'll be working on corporate social responsibility and its relationship with corporate fraud. So far we heard everyone talk about the theoretical aspects of sustainability and how leadership will help facilitate taking this to a larger extent. But today I would be talking about my experience with the Soapbox and with SDG Challenge. So 3 months ago, if you look at this picture, that's my team from the University of Groningen. You would never believe that we were absolute strangers who had nothing in common. We all belonged to different nationalities. We were all doing different studies and different backgrounds. But this one day when we met at Eska, the associate company that we worked with, we met at the Eska office. We had the sprint day, which was when all of us sat together. We all sat together with the CEO, with the operations lead, and with everyone from the employees who had the decision-making power. They sat down with us and with our team to discuss what they can actually do. So this is exactly what the SDG experience does. This is the absolute SDG experience. It opens up the boundaries. It facilitates collaboration between students and the decision makers, because it's not every day that you get to sit with the CEO of the company and discuss how our ideas can help them take the company forward. So if you're a student like me who is absolutely interested in sustainability, but you study a course like finance and you're always confused how finance and sustainability go together, this is the place for you. I will just tell you on what I felt working with Eska and with the SDG Challenge and what came out of this challenge as well for me and for the company. So with the SDG Challenge, I got the opportunity to experience the honesty and excitement that companies have towards working with sustainability. Every day you see a lot of reports, you see news that companies say, I'm investing so many billions in sustainability, or this is what we do to achieve it. But how much of that is believable? I don't think a lot of us believe it. In fact, my master thesis is focused on seeing if corporate fraud happens with CSR as an aid, if people actually are doing CSR to cover up corporate fraud. So it's very difficult to believe that companies are actually working with sustainability, with that honesty. But when we went to the office of Eska and when we saw the CEO talk about it with such passion and showed us the ideas that they had, I think it opened up a lot of motivation for everyone in our team. You can see on the first day, we all came up with so many ideas in a span of 4 hours because we're all from different educational backgrounds. I was giving my financial perspective of it. Some of them from the change management were giving their perspective on it. And by the end of the day, we actually had a really good plan, a solid plan on what can be changed for Eska. So with the SDG challenge, I got the exposure to the real world of sustainability, the real world on how companies handle it, how the CEO thinks, how the employees think, and how the new employees, that is our students who would soon be employees, what do we think about sustainability? And it is backed by the industry experts because, for example, one of the jury members was a coordinator at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the other jury was an associate partner at EY who focuses on sustainability services. So when we got a chance to present our solutions in front of such an esteemed jury, I think it was very, very motivating for our team as well as personally for me when I got to know that companies are taking it seriously and that sustainability is not just an adherence of law. So with the SDG challenge, what we get to do is optimize our research studies. I did a course in sustainability and strategies at the University of Groningen. I did a lot of research papers. I worked on multiple assignments, but I didn't have the resources to take it ahead. Whereas companies like Eska, they have the financial resources, they have the power to do it, but then they need new age ideas to take them ahead. So with the SDG challenge, you can get together, you can collaborate and break down the boundaries of companies and decision makers and students and optimize all of them together and drive towards long-term sustainability. Because at this point, sustainability is not just filling up reports and saying that, hey, the law is being done, or it's just not adherence to rules. It is proactively taking part and thinking of long-term achievements for everyone. So now, this is what we think. This is the actual SDG experience that I have. And with my next step, I would like to discuss a little overview of the solution that we gave to Eska. So a little background on the company that we worked with. Eska is a pioneer in operational sustainability in multiple ways. Their factory, it is 100% sustainable, it's 100% circular. The energy that they use, the water that they use is completely taken care within the factory. And also the raw materials that they get is 100% recycled paper, which they use to make board, cardboard, or like a board, which is used for packaging materials. So actually, every person that has ever read a hardbound book or used a puzzle, you must have used Eska's products at some point in your life. But something as simple and as widespread as board, which goes into landfills, is what is making the difference. Imagine the difference that would have made in case you knew how to properly recycle a hardbound book or a puzzle and the impact it can have on the environment. So what we focus on is, as Vali said, sustainability is a very broad concept. Companies know the problems that they have, companies know what they have to do, but how do they get there and what is really required at this point? That is a problem. So sustainability is a broad concept. It involves not just climate change, it involves relationships with people, it involves the environment, it involves multiple things that need to come together to be truly sustainable. And so as a solution, our team came up with an Eska's roadmap. So this is a very broad-eyed view. It's a broad-eyed view on the solution which we gave. We actually came up with a full-fledged plan on each step, but I'll run you through the roadmap that we made. So what we focus on is, first thing we say is the company needs to identify its emission drivers. So unless you truly know where your problem lies, you cannot start working on it. So most companies just deal with carbon emissions or something as simple as that, but these are all short-term impacts. What we are thinking about is the life cycle analysis. Let's just take it one step ahead. Let's just zoom out and think in the long-term perspective. So let's just start with a hardbound book or a puzzle, for example. So you buy a hardbound book, you look at it, you think a tree is being cut down for that, and you think digital books are actually better. But when we visited Eska, our ideas were completely changed. Apparently, Hardboardworks are more sustainable because they can last 15 to 20 years and they do not use any other extra energy. In fact, you can just pass it out to more people. So I have to identify emission drivers, zoom out, see how your products not just affect your factories, but at the long term. So not just once your products cross your factory gate, do not forget about it. See how your customers react to it. See where they end up. So identify the life cycle, do the life cycle analysis, identify your emissions. The second thing the company has to identify is their stakeholders. So who are exactly invested in your company? Is it your customers? Is it your investors? What do they expect from you? Do they expect you to be 100% sustainable? Do they expect you to invest in sustainable investments? What are they expecting from you? So only when you know what your problem is and what people are expecting to do, you can start off with a plan for it. One of the most innovative and creative ideas that we came up with is to hold a sustainable summit. For Eska, for example, they work with multiple clients, sometimes even luxury product clients, who come up to them who order for these board materials. For example, Rituals, the brand Rituals, they use the packaging, and the board that is used for the packaging can be made by Eska. But what happens is the inside of the packaging can use plastic separators or like separators inside the plastic in the box, or like a plastic sheet on the top, which renders the whole box unsustainable because it cannot decompose fully. So instead, what we suggested is to hold a sustainable summit where Eska sits with its competitors who also do the same businesses like producing board, and also with clients where they can sit and discuss how things can be done together. Because Eska is doing its part. It is a pioneer. It is very, very proactive. But then what about its industry peers? Because that's the only way you can make a final large impact. So with the Sustainability Summit, talk to your clients, talk to your peers, and see what you can do. And this also means that sustainability is not affecting your profitability. It's a common misconception that sustainability is an expense to the company, but I think it has to change. Sustainability does not come at the cost of profitability. In fact, it can open up new areas for the company to make profits or even be more known and improve your brand image. The next step, we think, is to identify your KPIs and targets. With identifying your targets, I think you can quantify where you want to be. And especially to motivate employees, having a quantifiable and measurable way is how you push your employees into following your objectives. The top level, you're motivated, but then we need the employees as well to work with it. And another idea that our team came up with is to work with NGOs and collaborate with them, because we don't want companies to just have a logo on their website saying, hey, we work with this NGO. No, I think it's high time that companies take one step ahead and make real impact. For example, with a company like Eska that makes board, a lot of them may end up in the landfill. Instead, there are multiple ways of using leftover board. For example, I come from India, and in India, some of the things are a luxury which can be normal in Europe. So there are kids in India in the rural areas who cannot go to schools or do not have proper infrastructure to go to schools because there's no furniture. And there's also hospitals that were required during the COVID especially, and there were no beds that could be made because we don't have that much infrastructure in the rural areas. Instead, if companies like Eska, who have access to such materials, if you could combine and join hands with NGOs, you could work with them and maybe make cardboard-based beds or like furniture that can actually facilitate and change someone's life. So it's not just about, oh, I have this certification or that our factory is 100% sustainable. It is about getting into the field and making an impact and changing lives of people. And I think it might sound a very large, like a large step away, but I think this is the only way we go ahead. And the most important thing about our presentation is sharing and inspiring. It is high time that people don't just keep knowledge to yourselves. We have to share and inspire and collaborate with everyone. So far we covered what the challenge was, we talked about our solution, but what does it look like from now on? So the journey ahead is what we'll be looking at for Eska as well as for me. So Eska came to us asking for solutions and a new generation perspective. They wanted to see how the Gen Z thinks about sustainability and how we can achieve it. And I think with our solutions, they were really motivated. We had another meeting with Eska the other day, and they showed us how they would be implementing, like having the sustainability summit. They said we also gave them an idea to hire students who can help them with designs of like sustainable prototypes. So you can ask students, design students, to make prototypes of packaging that you can show to clients, because that's how you get things done. Show prototypes, start taking action. And personally, for me, it has convinced me to take my journey into sustainability as a profession. So I was looking forward to becoming an accountant and an auditor, but I think I'm so convinced that I want to work with sustainability that I would definitely take that up as a profession from now on. So with the end of all this, what I would like to say is transformation leadership is the only way ahead to catch up with the trends and expectations of your investors, of your stakeholders, and of your future employees. And it's not just enough if your factory is sustainable, it's not just enough if you have green offices. I think we start collaborating within the industry, within your whole peers and competitors, and also within the different levels of the societal contributors, because this is the only way ahead. And lastly, I would say that companies need to be proactive, companies to be very open and welcoming, and we need to collaborate, we need to share and inspire, and this is the only way all of us grow together.
Yes, all right. Well, thank you so much, Durga, for taking us along your journey within the SDG Challenge. And I can imagine that there are quite some questions, but unfortunately, we have ran out of time a little bit. So what we will do is we will put our contact details in the chat, so that if you have any questions, then please feel free to send them by email, so that we can get in touch with you and that we can tell you a lot more about the SDG Challenge. And Durga can, of course, also elaborate on her presentation. So thank you, Durga. Stay with us for the last minute, so that we can explain you the next steps.
Yeah, so thank you for listening, and we put the contact details in the chat.